Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. We're brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona. We'll start out this week by talking gymnastics with Becky Roldecki. Thanks for being here again.
We're happy to be here.
All right. You had another good meet against UW Oshkosh this week, another top scorer this year. Unfortunately, you had a really tough team, and the top team in the WIAC in UW Oshkosh, but I imagine you're pleased with the 184.275.
It was a great meet for us, and I was very, very happy with that score. It puts us back in the hunt. It gets us in the middle of the pack, and it shows a great 2 weeks of growth in our team. Like, we went from 177 to 181 to 184, so all the fine-tuning that we're trying to do with the routines, the kids are buying into it and accepting it, and it was a fabulous meet, and it was fun for the kids to see good scores coming up and being rewarded for what they did. And you know, as a team, I just looked through it. I'm like, geez, we had a lot of nines that day, and we only counted one score in the whole entire lineup that was less than a 9 that we had to count. So that's a fabulous foundation to build from.
So where do you go from here then? How do you keep that going? Is there really any tinkering that you do with any routines, or is it just kind of more repetition and practice and that sort of thing?
It's a combination of repetition and practice for those that have become consistent and are cleaning up. We still have things that we can do to improve the routines, but it's fine-tuning things now. But we're also waiting for some of the injured kids to fill their spots in the lineup, because the kids we're putting up in the empty holes are brand new routines that are still a little bit inconsistent. So hopefully we get whole and we can have everybody together and then see who we really are. But I'm really happy with the progress we made building up the whole team, because the younger kids have been called on, hey, we need you, put it together, and they're doing a great job for us.
All right. Tell us a little bit more about the UW Oshkosh meet. What were some of the top performances in your mind?
Well, Shell's floor routine again. She's just a standout for us this year. Maya Fernando from Canada has had a really hard time getting her vault, and she stood up her hand from vault, and that was a great thing for her self-esteem and her confidence, and that really stood out. And our bar squat across the board, hitting their sets, those scores that we counted, that's huge, because some of the bar sets are new too as well. But yes, we got some great scores. Kennedy Oots got a 9.5, but then went out of bounds. I mean, she had a 9.5 and a 9.2 or 3 or whatever. But you know, her floor routine now is also up in that higher score range. So, and then Kelly had a great beam routine again, Kelly Johnson. So she's doing a great job of building up a good 4-score average for qualifying for nationals. So that's fun to see.
Yeah, there were several that had new season highs, especially on the floor. Haley Bryant and Alana Curran were 2 others that had really top scores.
Yeah, and for Alana, that was really good for her too. She's been struggling with nagging injuries of sorts, nothing major, but it's been really hard for her to put in the practice time. But she wants it, and she's hungry. She's a senior, and she wants to go out, you know, on a high. So it was really nice to see her get her floor routine and hit it for us. And she was really happy, because she's like, we get to count my scores. So, you know, those are important things. You know, as you go out, you want to be at the top of your game. So it's a good reward for her to be able to come into the lineup and do well for us.
Well, the first time that we talked to you this season, you were talking about how you have this roster where it's going to be a problem for you to decide who you're going to put into the different events. Is that still kind of a thing for you, where every week you're looking at it?
No. You know, and I was just thinking about that last week. I said, here we were so worried about which of the quality routines we're going to put in, and now we're like, oh my God, who can we get to do it? Who's ready enough to put in the lineup? So the injury issues, and they're nothing major, they're just sprains and whatever, but they just keep plucking people out of our lineup that we thought we had. So now we're like, oh my gosh, we got to fill in with somebody. So what can we do? So we're not putting up our power yet, but we're filling in with good kids that are doing a good job. But certainly it's not a matter of decision, it's just here's what we have. So it's an interesting thing that here we thought we had excess, and all of a sudden now we're just, who can we put in?
Okay. You have a big trip coming up this week. I wanted to save some time at the end of the segment so that you could talk about this trip. Tell us where you're going and who you're going to be facing on Thursday.
We go down to Shreveport, Louisiana, and we're going to be competing against Century. It's a really fun trip for us. The weather should be a little bit better down there for one thing, but also it's a great environment. They were a D2 program up until a couple years ago. The facility is nice. Getting out of the Midwest and getting the scoring that they get down south is super fun. Like if you nail your routine down there, you are well rewarded for it. So I'm looking to come home with some 9.7s and 8s on the kids that I've been hitting, which will be very fun. But as a team, I think you'll see again a rise in our score, and the adrenaline and excitement the kids get when they see the 9.4s or 5s coming up instead of the 9.1s and 9.2s, like they just feed off of it and they're like, ooh, I want one of those scores. So it's a really fun meet for us.
All right, in your mind, why do you think the scores are different down south compared to where they are here?
There's just, across the country, there's just some disparity with the judging pools. And for whatever reason, the Midwest is conservative. And out of this area on the East Coast and down the South and West, the scores tend to be higher. And it's just the grouping of women that work together and their impression of how much to take off or how hard to hit a routine is just different here. So down there, they're much more lenient and they're more forgiving of your sins. So yeah, the scoring is great, and that's why we're going down there. We're going down there to see if we can come up with a great team total and have some fun. We get to fly as a team, which we haven't done for several years. So we're all looking forward to it.
All right. In looking at Centenary's scores over the last couple of meets, I noticed their last meet they scored 189. So, in your mind, what's going to be a good score coming back when you meet with us next week?
Well, we had a 184 here with decent judging. I thought we were judged fairly this meet, so I'm assuming with the bumped scores there that we should have a 186 down there. And that's what we're going shopping for. Okay. And anything beyond that will be a really good treat, but I think we can definitely do a 186 down there, which would be very fun.
So with this longer trip and flying, what does that do to like a practice schedule? How much time do you think you're going to have to practice before the meet itself, and how do you think that's going to affect the team?
It is different because they're in a different environment and they're in unfamiliar territory, but we'll do a practice session in their gym on we fly out on Thursday, we'll do a practice session on Friday morning, and then Saturday they'll have off and we can go do whatever we need to do as far as sightseeing. So we're going to get a practice in, we'll be in their environments, we'll get to see what it's all about, and the kids will adjust to it. You know, it's like going into any other unfamiliar school. Because of the fact that we get that practice day, that they're willing to open their gym up for us on that practice day, they'll walk into the gym then on meet day knowing what the environment is, and so I think they'll adapt very easily.
All right, and this is just a dual meet, you and Centenary, correct?
Correct.
All right, well, best of luck.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report. When we come back, Chelsea Sayre will join us right after this.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect. Getting the right look at the right price
Perfect.
is always in style. At Cost Cutters.
Located in the professional building in the Winona Mall, 507-454-60.
And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona. Chelsea Sayre joins us. Thanks for being here today.
It's good to be here.
All right, let's talk a little bit about how you got involved in gymnastics. You're from Indiana. You're a junior here at Winona State, but how far back do you go in gymnastics?
Oh, goodness. I think I started gymnastics when I was about 3 years old, and I've been in it ever since. Yeah, it's just kind of been a part of my life, and yeah, I love it.
You know, when people start out in sports that young, sometimes they grow out of it or they decide, I don't want to do this. What's kept you in gymnastics?
Yeah, gymnastics is kind of a weird sport because you love it sometimes, and then sometimes you're like, it's okay, but I don't know, something about just competing, you get like an adrenaline rush. It's just a fun sport to be in.
Now, I know in gymnastics, one of the goals is to be a level 10, and you reached level 10 in late 2012. So you've been a level 10 gymnast for a long time. What was it like to finally get that, and how hard did you have to work to get that?
Yeah, being a level 10 for 5 years was certainly a task. It was definitely a hard working experience. Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you decide to come here to Winona State?
So I looked at a bunch of D3 schools, and I came to Winona my senior year, and I met with Becky and the team, and we had a group talk, and it was just like a welcoming environment, and something just clicked, and I decided to come here.
All right. From your perspective, how did you find Chelsea, and how did you decide to bring her along here?
Well, from the time we started going back and forth with emailing and talking or whatever, I just was impressed with her, and obviously the skill level that she had at that time was attractive to me. But when she came in, she has just such a gentle, kind sweetness about her that like we just instantly fell in love with her, and we're like, we have to have this kid. So it didn't matter at that point what her gymnastics was. It was just I knew that was a personality that I wanted on my team, and she is proven to me that she has everything that I would have expected out of her and more. She's kind, and she's giving, and she's conscientious, and she's coachable, and I mean everything that you would want in an athlete she's brought to the table for us. So it's been a real pleasure coaching her.
Oh, very good. A lot of glowing remarks there.
Yeah,
What is
that
it?
felt good.
What does it? Yeah. What does it feel like to hear that?
It's good. I don't think I've ever actually get to hear what Becky has to say about me, so yeah, it's a confidence boost, I guess.
Okay, let's go back to when you first started here at Winona
Yeah.
State. What is the difference in your mind from club gymnastics to college gymnastics?
Yeah, so club is really individual based. Like when I was doing my routines, it was for myself. I didn't really have a team. So if I fell, it was on me. If I made it, it was like good for me. But making the transition into college is so team oriented. And I really like it. It would seem scarier since that your score is now, it reflects on the whole team, but actually it motivates you more. Yeah.
Okay, and how have you changed as a gymnast from your freshman year to your junior year?
Oh boy. I think I'm definitely more confident in myself, for sure. I rely more on my teammates rather than just me doing it. I definitely lean on them. If I'm nervous before a routine or something, I'll be like, okay, come over here, give me a little pep talk. But yeah.
Okay, Coach talked about your floor routine this past weekend, or this past meet at UW Oshkosh, 9.6. Tell us a little bit about that and what that was like after that was finished.
Yeah, that was really exciting. I think that's the best score I've gotten my whole entire life, so that was really cool. But yeah, I just approached it like any other meet or any other routine and did what I've been training for the past however many months, and it was a good result.
All right, and then this week it's the trip to Louisiana. Tell us a little bit about what you're expecting and what you're looking forward to in this meet.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever really taken a trip since I've been here that's been this long or distant, I guess. We got to go to Illinois my freshman year and Missouri last year, but this one's more far out and we get to kind of sightsee a little more, so that should be exciting. But overall, I think it should be a good meet.
All right, very good. Well, thank you for joining us here this week, and good luck in Louisiana this week.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report. When we come back, we'll talk track and field with Mason Rubarczyk right after this.
Perfect.
Perfect. Perfect.
Getting the right look at the right price
Perfect.
is always in style at Cost Cutters.
Located in the professional building in the Winona Mall, 507-454-6030.
And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona. We'll talk track and field now with Mason Rubarczyk. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having us.
You were in Mankato, as you will be for the next month or so, as we said last week, but this is the Mark Shook Open and Multi. It was a successful event for you guys as you were able to beat 15 other teams. So tell us a little bit about the event.
Yeah, it was a real good meet, biggest meet we've done of the year so far, best competition we've seen so far, and it's kind of the time of year where you come back from Christmas break in January and they're doing their workouts on their own. We hope they come back ready to compete, but it's not quite the same as training with your teammates and your coach, so we spend January trying to get back to where we know we need to be, and so those first meets are kind of, you're training really tired and the high training volume, and this is end of January, beginning of February is when things kind of turn the corner and we start to see some better things happen, and we definitely did.
So I imagine you're excited to see all the first place finishes, all the personal records that were set during this meet?
Yeah, absolutely. We had quite a few. The distance crew in particular had a really good meet. They didn't show up on top of the list in terms of placing, but some of the girls in the 5K ran the best times they'd ever run by quite a bit. Becca Rickman, I don't think has ever run the 5K indoor, but she bested her outdoor 5K by quite a bit, 25 seconds I think it was. And then Anna Rogan had 2 great races. The 3K was a school record that was previously hers from a year ago in January. So she was glad to get her time down again. And so those on the distance side were good. And then sprints as well. I'm trying to think what we had. Brooklyn, I think, won the 400. She ran, I want to say, a second faster than the same meet last year. So it's always nice to see someone run faster on the same weekend than they did the year before. And then on the 4x4, Brooklyn ran a pretty impressive split. So her leg of the relay was about as fast as she's ever run, if I'm not mistaken. So that was pretty exciting. And then some of the jumpers did well too. Christy Springer, I think, won the triple. And if I'm not mistaken, Taylor got second in the long jump. So again, just being consistent. The thing I told the team on the bus ride home is it's all about executing. You know, this time of the season, you're not always going to put up your best performance. We like to see PRs and school records early. We don't expect that. What's important is executing. So preparing for your event and competing the way you need to compete, executing the things you need to do to be successful. And they were doing those kind of things. So that way when it gets late in the season and we're tapered and feeling good and fresh and fast, hopefully we continue to execute and the times keep improving.
All right, and this was a 2-day event that was that finished on Saturday. So what is the difference between then this one, because this was a larger event you were talking about last week, and what's coming up this weekend?
Funny enough, this weekend is actually going to be even bigger. I think they had 700 athletes in the meet this past weekend. There will be about 1,200 in the meet this coming weekend. So I'm not sure why they choose to split one up and not the other. But yeah, they just moved a few events to Friday night for this past weekend. This weekend will just be a longer day. We'll start the meet about the same time, but it'll get done closer to maybe 7. Whereas this week we got done at, I don't even know, 5 o'clock. It was fairly early. So.
Okay. One of the things that we wanted to talk about was some of the events that take place during these meets are not necessarily ones that are competed in high school. And so you kind of have to train people to do different events. Can you kind of explain how that works?
Yeah, sure. The 2 big ones that always come to mind are the javelin and the heptathlon. They're events that are not high school events. So you and I, last week we were talking off camera, how do you find people to do those events? And a lot of it is just sort of almost a tryout with those on the team. So for instance, all of our freshmen in the sprints and jumps group, we'll have them come out with a little Nerf football, the little one with a tail on it, and they just kind of play catch for 5 or 10 minutes and warm up the arm, and then we say, all right, let's see how far you can throw it. And we kind of have a distance that we know is kind of that cutoff of if they can throw it over a certain distance that we think maybe there's some potential there. And so we start teaching them the jab and we see if they can learn it. And Taylor Jurish, for instance, a senior, a couple years ago as a sophomore, she was conference champ in the javelin. So that worked out pretty well. And then the heptathlon is another one. That's the outdoor event. The indoor version of that is the pentathlon. And that's one where it just isn't a high school event. You can do it in, USA track and field sort of sanctioned meets, but it's not a high school event. So we're looking for people that are doing a couple of those events. So someone that can hurdle and long jump or high jump and hurdle, and then you teach them the rest of it. So for instance, no heptathlete really was ever a shot putter. They just all have to learn it. And so we just look for things like people that can hurdle and high jump, people that are durable and don't get injured very often because the volume of training is so high, and people who can snap back from a bad performance quickly. If you've got 5 events in a day to do, like in a pentathlon, if the first one goes poorly and you're just down on yourself the rest of the day, so the whole rest of it's going to go poorly too. So just looking for that personality type of someone who can have a bad event and go, okay, that one's behind me, what's next? And so those kind of things we look for and then start teaching them how to do the things, and sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't.
Have you ever had an athlete come in and say, I want to do this event?
I'm sure we have. Off the top of my head, I can't think, because usually we have those conversations pretty early in the recruiting process. we've got somebody who's committed for next year. I can't say the name yet. She hasn't signed yet, but we've talked to her since day one about, hey, you might have an aptitude to do the multi-events, and she kind of got a smile on her face like, yeah, maybe that'd be fun. So we have that idea usually in the recruiting process, or oftentimes someone who maybe played outfield softball or was like a hitter in volleyball. Sometimes they've got some upper body strength to be a jav thrower. So sometimes we'll have those conversations in the recruiting process too. So they kind of come in knowing that it might be an opportunity for them.
And then the other one is steeplechase. I think Becca Rickman runs steeplechase in the outdoor season. That seems to be an odd event because it's got to be hard to practice.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly distance runners are the ones that end up being the steeplechasers. It's a distance event, 3,000 meters. High school kids are used to running 1,600 or 3,200 meters during track and field season. So it's a distance they're used to. It's just a matter of learning how to hurdle. And hurdling at a slower speed than your sprint hurdlers do. And so for sure it's definitely different for them, but another event that you're looking for a distance runner that's maybe got a little edge or a little spunk to them, or someone that wants to try something new, and you put them in it and you see if it works.
And then the jumping into water, what does that do? It just seems like an odd thing to kind of throw in there, and then does that throw people off?
Absolutely, yeah. You've got to be a tenacious person to be able to handle that. The water barrier, I don't know, most people probably haven't seen how deep the water pit is, but it's pretty deep, especially if you're not jumping real far off of the water barrier. And so, yeah, it's something you've got to learn how to jump off the barrier, land in the water, keep running. Certainly people belly flop and land on their face, and it's pretty interesting. Anytime you're at a track and field meet, you're going to see lots of people congregate over by the water. You probably see 20 to 100 people just sitting around the water just because they want to see that part of it. It's exciting. So.
All right, and then you already talked about the Ted Nelson that's coming up, but is there anything that you're looking forward to this weekend, or any performances maybe that you're looking at?
We take a smaller group this weekend. This is kind of set up as our weekend off, and the only people that go this weekend are those who've missed a meet for injury or things like that. So it's almost a makeup meet for us. It's a really high caliber meet, really big meet. So those that are going, it's a fun, certainly fun, but a good opportunity for them to get back kind of some of that time they lost from a missed meet or being injured. And the people that are going are people who feel good. And like I said, once we turn the corner into February, we start feeling good and running fast. And so everybody that's going, we're really anticipating hopefully good things.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warrior Report. When we come back, Anna Rogan will join us right after this.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect. Getting the right look at the right price
Perfect.
is always in style. At Cost Cutters.
Located in the professional building in the Winona Mall, 507-454-60.
And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona. Anna Rogan joins us. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Well, let's start out with your school record that you broke this past weekend, which was your own record. Tell us a little bit about that race and what it was like to set another record.
It was a good comeback from the weekend that I had previously. That 3K didn't go as well as I wanted, and then coming back in this weekend, I knew there was specific parts that I needed to attack differently, and went into it with a better mindset and was mentally stronger than I was the week before. Not having the team there on that Friday, we had a few girls that were there that definitely stepped it up and brought up like the cheering. Having Kat and Casey there was definitely super exciting and just really motivating. Not having the whole entire team there sucked, but they really were there to step up and cheer me on. But attack the parts that I needed to. There was 2 laps that I ended up running a little bit slower than pace that I wanted to, so didn't run as fast as I wanted, but definitely having the school record broken was exciting.
What's the thought in your head when you see the time and you realize, hey, I just broke a record here?
Knowing that I wanted to run faster, it was a little bit disappointing, but I also can't take for granted the opportunities that I had, so that was definitely
a confidence boost that I needed, and I know leading up to the weeks coming that it'll be something to look back on. That's exciting.
All right, that's amazing that you're disappointed, even though you broke a school record. But for you, what happens when somebody breaks a record like that? Do you guys do anything for that?
You know, I thought about that. In the past couple of years, we've kind of written a sign up that says school record and the time, and I thought about that on Saturday that we didn't do that Friday night. But I think part of it was, you know, our sport is just kind of that way where you might run a better time than you've run, but you thought you were capable of more. Yeah. So you're kind of like, you're excited, but it's like, I know, especially right now with Anna, there's the minute barrier. It's one thing if you're trying to run 10:30 and you run 10:34, but if it's 10 flat, you're trying to go 9:59 and you go 10:04, it's like, I'm so close to that landmark time. And so I just knew that if it wasn't 9:59, she wouldn't be happy with the record. So.
Gotcha. Well, we want to go a little bit backwards and find out how you found out about Winona State, how you decided to come here. What was that process?
So actually, my high school, we have like a homeroom. She graduated from Winona State University, so she became a high school teacher. So my interest was first when she was like, oh, well, where are you applying to college? And I was like, I don't really know. So she talked to me about Winona State. I applied, and every college that I applied to, I emailed the coach right away and was like, I'm very interested in running at the college level. Can I come for a visit? And so at the time, Coach Brett Ayers, he was the coach at the time, and I emailed him right away, and he called me within 5 minutes. We had a conversation, and a few weeks later, I was on campus, and it was by far one of the best campus tours that I had, and it also was just that sense of community that you wanted right away. It had the program that I was interested at the time. I ended up switching majors, but then they had enough options that interested me as well. So it was a very good tour, and the bluffs are beautiful. It's a great place to run. So if you're interested in distance running, Winona's a place to be. But yeah, definitely a lot of things that were just on that college checklist that you have that were able to get checked off.
All right, very good. Well, we always try to find out a little bit more about people and kind of dig deep into social media and that sort of thing to ask you some questions. You're a dancer as well.
Oh boy, yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So my grandma was a professional ballroom dancer for a long time. So both my older brothers, they were into dance. Neither of my parents were, but she started me when I was 3.5, 4 years old, and I danced up until I was 16, and I had to choose between dancing and running, and I ended up choosing running. But for my birthday a few years ago, I asked for dance lessons again because I was kind of missing it. I took a ballroom dance class at Winona State for a PE credit, and I just told her, I was like, Grandma, I really miss it. So I did get to do a showcase a few summers ago that just warmed my heart because I do miss it. Definitely something that I will get back into after running.
All right, very good. Well, I have a son and daughter that dance, and my wife is a very good dancer, so when I saw that, I had to ask you about that. All right, coming up this weekend, what do you do this weekend to get ready for, or what do you do this week to get ready for this weekend, and is there any set time that you're looking for this week?
So actually, as Mason mentioned, I'm taking this weekend off. So had a good tempo yesterday. I'll be on the track tomorrow. And then Saturday's goal is to just get one more really good long run in before we start to hit the end of the season where we're going to start working more on like pace work and really focusing in on what we need to tailor in on. So this weekend I'll be off, taking this week kind of to give my legs a break. So increasing my cross training a little bit and lowering the mileage a little bit, but we'll be back and ready in 2 weeks. So I'll be running an open mile in 2 weeks.
All right, very good. Well, thank you for coming on the show this week.
Thank you.
All right,
Justin.
and thank you for watching Warrior Report here on TV 25. We'll see you next week here on HBC.